Tonight, we talk about the status of drainage here in East Baton Rouge Parish and the impact the coronavirus is having on Louisiana. Roll it, Ed. Well, he might be the smartest man as it relates to transportation and drainage here in EBR. In fact, he is the director of transportation and drainage. Fred Raiford is here with us in studio tonight to begin the show to talk about what's happening in East Baton Rouge Parish. Fred, how's it been, man? Long time,
Clay. I appreciate the opportunity to come on. I do appreciate it, really.
So, you know, lately here in the parish, man, people have been talking about what's happening with drainage, and we've had all these water events. The first was in 17. We've had a couple since then. And I'll start at the beginning to ask you, what's going on? Why are we seeing so much flooding here?
Well, I will say, number one, that there's no question that the type of rain events that we're having since the 16 flood, it certainly has increased not only in volume and numbers, but the intensity of the rainfall itself. But we also have issues that we're trying to deal with on a day-to-day basis, is some of the lack of maintenance within our infrastructure, and certainly that is a contributing factor to some of that. But not all of it is put in there naturally. Some of it, we have to go clean ditches of washing machines and wooden fences and things like that just does not fall from the sky. You know what I mean? But in reality, I think we're moving in the right direction from our standpoint. The biggest key to me and what the Mayor Broom asked me to do was to get us started with a stormwater master plan, because we need to get together on what's going on in East Baton Rouge Parish. And while we have various cities within there, they all impact what we all do. And I think the stormwater master plan, which we were able to move forward with, is a big key to put us in the right direction of maintenance and where we need to be in the future.
So, I want to get to the stormwater master plan in a bit, because it should be complete next year and it's going to give you data. But a couple things that I hear from people. First, for those of us who have lived here a very long time, we're used to hurricanes and rain and rain for days on end, right? And you still have never seen flooding like this before. So that's the thing that's catching people by surprise. Is it just the weather? Because most people aren't buying that it's just the rainfall.
Well, and I would never want to imply it's just weather, because I think if you look at some of our channels that we have that drain 3/4 of our parish, there's some work that needs to be done, and I think that's the steps that's on the plan that we're trying to address currently as the funding we have available. But to say that the weather hasn't changed, it has changed. I've been here all my life. I've been working for the city for 35 years, and I can assure you, I'm involved in a lot of things around this parish, and I've never seen the water come as intense, and the number of rain events that we have in East Baton Rouge Parish here, and the volume is pretty significant. I mean, and most of them are within that 50 to 100-year storm event. The latest on May 17th was a 500-year storm event. Those don't happen but once every 500 years. It seems like we're getting them every year now. And I think that's what's driving us to be sure where we need to be.
So looking into it, you guys moved about $20 million from the American Rescue Plan to do some work. I see that 2,400 storm drains have been cleaned, 1,300 roadside ditches have been cleaned, 1,100 drainage cave-ins have been filled. You've done some clearing and grubbing in parts of Wards Creek, Dawson Creek, Clay Cut Bayou, Elbow Bayou. But people don't seem to believe that much is happening. So you've done this now. Is that a Band-Aid, or what's the long-term impact?
Let me just say this. It hasn't completely been done. The only thing that we've actually started, because you have to go through a permitting process, and these are still federal dollars, and you have to meet all the federal rules and guidelines. We've started process of cleaning and of the storm drain boxes and pipe. That's the one that you made reference to, the 2,400. We've already moved forward with that program. We were able to contract that out through somebody, through a consultant, and we are underway with the remaining parts. We're working on right now, putting packets together to be able to go out and bid out the work, because everything we do here will be bid out to a private contractor to try to expedite the process. That's what our goal and objective is on that. clearing of some of the major channels. These are part of the areas that are not being done under the Tributaries Project, the federal project. We felt like they needed to be done because they are part of the major system that drain our parish. So we want to be sure it's as clean as possible where water can move down those channels like they're supposed to be. So that's really, we're moving that direction now. It takes a little long to do it, and the biggest issue that we deal with, Clay, what nobody wants to hear about, is the process.
Hold on, I want to talk about the process. Okay. we got a break coming up. I want to talk with Fred about what we can expect going forward. When can we relax? When is this going to look a lot better? And we still have a conversation with Dr. Catherine O'Neill in studio about the coronavirus. Thank you for watching the Clay Young Show here on WBRZ+. Okay. Oh, goodness, he's about to raise your blood pressure just a little bit. Fred Raiford, the Director of Transportation and Drainage, is here with us in studio. And the conversation we were having during the commercial break, it was raising mine. So let's talk a little bit about that. You were saying going into break about the process. I listed a number of areas that the parish is going to be attacking, and you were starting to say, we've started one of those, but we haven't been able to get around to the rest of them because of the process. Do explain.
Yeah, and part of the process, particularly with the clearing of the channels, those are the things that create the biggest obstacles. And a lot of people say, well, why don't you just get in there? Well, you can in some places, some you cannot. And on the major channels, I have to go through a permitting process with the Corps of Engineers to be able to evaluate what we're going to be doing, what's being removed. Anytime you disturb the bank of channel, you have then been set under a different parameter from a permitting standpoint. And even if you're cutting and cleaning, there's all kinds of permits and how they allow that to happen. If you're by a wetland, which lots of areas in there are wetlands in these channels, then you have another process, which I will tell you as I'm sitting here today, because I've done it too many years, you're looking at a year before we could even get started with the clearing because of the process that you have to follow. And I don't like it, and I know the public doesn't like it. I know the public doesn't like it because I hear about it every day. But that's the reality of what we have to deal with. We're doing everything we can to expedite that process. The mayor made it very clear to me. She said, get it done. And that's what we're trying to do. While we were looking for these funds, I've already submitted information with a consultant to work on some mapping so we could get that to them before we even got approval of the funding.
So let's just, So you have this list you've identified, and
Yes,
you're
sir.
still working on it. You know these areas that have to be addressed.
Right.
Before you can get in, because of the environment, you've got to submit something to the federal government.
Right.
And your ability to begin is contingent upon how fast they give you a thumbs up. And you just said some of this could take a year.
It could, depending on their evaluation of what that channel situation is, what type of equipment we're going to be recommending. And this is all contract out.
Yeah.
That's not our people.
You have an
We're
example?
contractor. Example
Of this?
it will be more of a marsh buggy type situation going in there. And on these channels, we're not going to do any digging. We're going to just clear and snag. We remove any obstructions that are in the channel, the trees that are hanging on the banks, cut them down to the bottom of the stump. And at that point, remove everything within top the bank to top the bank structurally that will impede the flow of water. That's what our goal and objective is. But if you disturb it, and we got pipelines in some of these areas too that we have to deal with.
But which one? I told you I cross Ward Creek regularly, and I see debris in there. But give me a specific one. We mentioned Ward, we mentioned Dawson, Clay Cut, Elbow Bayou. Which one? So something that people can get situational awareness on because they could see it.
Well, every channel, unless it's in a residential area, normally I can go in there and clean those because they're not wetlands on either side because it's some type of development that's already in place. But all your major channels that we have, and every one you just mentioned, and the one over by Wards Creek, right there by PQ, we're waiting on the Corps at this point to be able to do the clearing and snagging from, at this point, Bayou Manchac all the way up to PQ.
Yeah.
And we just originally got the clearance from the Corps, from the environmental. I'm having to secure the additional construction servitudes, and when I get that, we will finally be able to bid the job out to get that work. That is something that we've been talking about for almost 20 years, Clay, and you know, and I understand the environmental issue, and I don't want anybody to think I'm anti-environmental. That's not. But you know, at some point, I also got to try to explain that minnow or that frog that's sitting on the log can maybe get moved to another ditch and on another log, but people are being impacted every day. Homes are flooding for some of this stuff.
So then funding, you got $20 million that has been moved from ARP for this. Recently there was a discussion about going and getting money from other places. So I'm going to ask you two questions in the last couple of minutes here.
Yes, sir.
One about funding, and then tell me what you expect the outcome of the Stormwater Master Plan to be.
Well, funding aspect, from where we are at this point between the hazard mitigation funds that we were able to secure due to the 16 flood, we just recently got 3 projects approved to us from the Watershed Initiative program of funds. I think it's somewhere around 30 million that was approved. And those projects are critical to addressing future needs of retention and trying to address overflow issues that we'll be dealing with. Certainly the Tributaries project, which is what I just mentioned to you, that's
30
ongoing.
seconds quickly on the Stormwater Master Plan.
And Stormwater Master Plan, if we don't have that, we're not going to have a direction of where we need to be today and where we need to be 30 years from now. And I think that's why people say, why is it taking so long? We can do anything we need to do in regards to it as soon as we can to finish up any watershed.
You got to come back. This is not enough. We're going to do more.
And I'd love to, because and it's very, very understanding why people get frustrated. But
I got to go.
Let them come.
I got to go.
Yes, sir.
Back with Dr. Katie O'Neill in just a moment.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Dr. Catherine O'Neill is an infectious disease specialist at Our Lady of the Lake, and she's been one of the go-to people as we've been discussing the coronavirus and what's been happening. COVID-19 really has never gone away, Doc, but we're seeing a surge here. So what's the latest?
The latest is that people keep talking about when we're going to peak or have we peaked, but what we're seeing is continued community transmission, a lot of it. A lot of people in the community still getting COVID, and that's resulting in the same number of hospital admissions that we've seen over the last 2 to 3 weeks. We really don't know if we're at a peak or if we're just at a horrible plateau, but in the hospital what we see is continued illness, continued ICU admissions, and that continued age group of people that we just didn't see in previous surges.
There has been a concerted effort on the part of the state to get people vaccinated and also address their concerns about both the virus and the vaccines. So let's talk first about the increasing number of people who are getting the coronavirus vaccine.
It's very exciting, right? Because we saw this huge lull in want for the vaccine. I think, one, because there wasn't an immediate need, and I put off medical care. I'll be the first to tell you I don't go to the dentist on time every time, right? It's just easy to put off that kind of decision for another day. And also maybe we didn't need to worry about it. And we did hear that sort of calming tone of maybe it will be okay. So some of this is just generated by the fact that it's not. It didn't go away, and we're going to have to be vaccinated. And I hope that some of it's also been generated by the push to answer people's questions and get them the right information. People tend to have the same questions, and really we need to answer everybody's fear and concern if they're going to get vaccinated.
It's interesting because when the governor spoke earlier this month about what was coming and bringing back the mask mandate, I mean, we kind of had a hint it was coming, and then when he finally announced it, you started to see people going, okay, I need to get vaccinated. We don't want to go back. The fears that people have expressed, you and I were a part of a telephone town hall last week, and people asked questions, and I want to spend some time talking about that. What is the difference now in August of 21 versus 20 when people were hearing about a vaccine? What piece of information has been the most valuable to get people to say, okay, well, maybe I can do this?
The most valuable piece of information that we've been able to share is the information that helps them to say, I shouldn't be afraid of this vaccine. So why are people afraid of the vaccine? They're afraid of the technology, so an honest conversation about how we got here, and is this really different from vaccines we've had before? It's not as different as we've made it out to be. How am I going to feel after the vaccine? So people are nervous about the side effects that we heard so much about, so talking them through that. This is really no different than having a hard workout and feeling kind of tired the next day, and it's not the end-all be-all. And then lastly, is it going to protect me? And that's still a question that we hear every single day, even while we're admitting so many unvaccinated patients. Is this vaccine, does it really work, or am I just going to have to get another one? And so really talking through what protection means to you. Could you be a breakthrough case? Sure. What does a breakthrough case look like? Somebody close to me in the hospital has a breakthrough case. She got sick over the weekend, so I called her to talk to her about her symptoms on Monday, and she said, I would have come to work like this every day of the week for the last 5 years. I feel fine, but my nose is running, and so I got tested to be responsible. I would take that any day of the week.
Right.
So we just talking through those different questions.
People are still trying to understand the virus and how it impacts people. Someone who works for me has the virus and as home has been virtual, but has no symptoms. And we kind of talked about that. So it affects people very differently. Some people are in dire straits if they get it. Other people, outside of not being able to taste their gumbo, don't even know they have it.
Right.
So why is that spectrum so wide?
It's so wide because our immune system is so different. So you and I's immune system is very different, and because we're here, I'm assuming we're fairly healthy people, right? Because we got up today and we came to work. As opposed to the person who doesn't move around very much, who maybe lives in a nursing home, who maybe is dealing with chemotherapy or taking lots of medications every day that affect their immune system. We've seen some elite athletes get very, very sick, so we know that marathon runners, triathletes, their immune systems can actually be pretty down from the stress they put their body into. So all of us, as we move around every day, we don't always bring our full game to the table in terms of how we fight viruses. And that's what you see. My cold doesn't look like your cold, my coronavirus doesn't look like yours, because what fight did I bring today? What I want to bring is a vaccinated fight. That's my best chance. It still might not be my best fight today, depending on what I've been doing the last week, but it's the only fight that's dependable right now.
It's interesting, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, I'd like to talk about a few myths that are out there. One, about the vaccine being a 100% panacea against catching the coronavirus. What about people who have pre-existing medical conditions? Someone had a question about that on our telephone town hall. And then, are there other preventive measures other than the mask that we could be doing to protect ourselves against the virus? We're going to continue with Dr. O'Neill. She's in studio. You see, what a brain, right? We're going to come back and talk with her. And don't forget to check out my podcast at podcast225.com. You're watching The Clay Young Show. Back in just a moment. Back with Dr. O'Neill talking about the coronavirus. We went into break talking a little bit about rumors, and last week we were on that telephone town hall, and you had a chance to speak to some of those. So let's start with at the very beginning. How safe is the vaccine?
When we talk about safety, we could use tons of analogies, right? Seat belts, all the way to airbags. I was recently in a car accident, and I think my airbag saved my life, right? But over and over in the hospital, I heard, oh, those airbags can do some damage. And whatever damage they do is nothing like losing your life, right? And so when we talk about safety, it's really about risk assessment. When you look at the vaccine, and when you look at any vaccine that we've ever made, the safety profile of this one is safer than anything I've ever seen. We are measuring it better. We know every single case of people call me all the time. Hey, I have a person who has a little bit of weakness after the vaccine. What should I do? Report it to VAERS. VAERS is so tight with our data that I can then go back and look. How is our community doing with the vaccine? And what we're seeing are very few side effects, even minimal side effects like we talked about. Very few really adverse reactions, things that we feared, Guillain-Barré, Bell's palsy. That was all the big deal when they came out, and it just hasn't played out at all. Myocarditis, much less risk of myocarditis with the vaccine than we see with COVID-19. So one of the safest vaccines we've ever produced, one of the most effective vaccines we've ever produced, even with this question of breakthrough cases, still an unbelievable vaccine. But when you talk about safety, what does that mean to you? If you feel a little bit achy and you have a side effect, is that safe? It is, because it saves your life. And we all have to answer that question of what does safety mean to me?
We got questions about fertility. People saying they didn't want to take it. They didn't want their daughters to have the vaccine because of what it would do to them if they wanted to have children. What about that?
So that's an interesting question, because when you talk about fertility, fertility is over 10 to 20 to maybe 30 years, depending on the age at which you're getting the vaccine. My girls are vaccinated. My girls were vaccinated before COVID-19, right? They get all of their vaccines. Why? Because what prevents you from getting pregnant later in life? Really severe illness as a young adult, congenital defects, poor diets, right? Bad nutrition. What leads to a healthy adult life? Vaccination. And this country is a very fertile country because we have great vaccination regimens that keep us from getting really sick and having high fevers as children, and that protects our fertility later on. So we've never seen a vaccine adversely affect fertility. We know that vaccines promote fertility.
Okay. People who have pre-existing medical conditions, we took a question about that. Someone says, you know, I would get the vaccine, but I've got whatever issue and I'm worried that it might exacerbate this other thing. What do you say to that?
Right now what we're seeing is that nobody is immune from becoming a person who's in the hospital, and definitely still people with pre-existing conditions are at higher risk of becoming intubated and losing their life. When you think about, do I want to take my chances with the virus? Because you're going to get it. It's not going away. Even when it becomes less of a pandemic, it's still going to be here. Or do I want to get the vaccine? The vaccine is a very, very small amount of mRNA. That mRNA is found all over the cell wall of that virus. And when I cough or sneeze on you as a COVID-19 patient, I'm going to give you millions of that same snippet of mRNA. So which one do you want? A tiny, tiny bit to practice with, or millions that your body has to take in? If I'm a patient who has an abnormal heart valve, maybe I have a cardiomyopathy already, maybe I have just hypertension, and I say, I'm afraid of myocarditis. Are you willing to take the risk of myocarditis, which is thousands of times more likely with the illness? Or are you willing to take the risk of the vaccine? I'd take the vaccine any day of the week because it's a practice session for the real deal.
I wish I had another 30 minutes. And
I wish we did too.
I've got less than 30 seconds, and I appreciate. Is there quickly, where can people go to get information if they want to learn more? Really quickly.
OLOLRMC.com.
OLOLRMC.com. Thanks to Fred Raiford and Dr. O'Neill for joining us today. We'll catch you next week here on The Clay Young Show. Have a great weekend.